Hi, hello Internet. This is the first review that I've done on YouTube. So the laptop I'm reviewing today is the Asus F510UA, as it's called on Amazon. But it's also called, I found on the laptop's motherboard, it's also called X510UAR. My particular model said that. Before I start the official review, let me do a little bit of introduction to myself. I'm into computer hardware and electronics. I built my own desktop. It's an Intel 6-core processor back in 2014. And I've repaired a lot of phones, iPads, and computers, mainly the screen and battery repairs. So now I just bought this new Asus laptop, and I think it's a great deal for under $500. So I'm making this review video. I'm gonna tell you everything I know about this laptop to help you make hopefully a helpful purchase decision. Now, the main reason I bought this laptop, first, it's about its price. It's under $500, but most importantly, it has a really fast quad-core 8th gen Intel i5 processor. So here I've attached a screenshot of the latest Geekbench 4 benchmark I did with this laptop, and I compared it to the Dell XPS 15. And as it turned out, this laptop is almost as fast as the Dell XPS because this computer has a new 8th generation Core i5, which was upgraded from the dual core ones from last year. All the new i5s are at least quad core. So compared to the quad core i7 processor that the 2017 Dell XPS 15 has, this processor uses less power but is almost as fast. If you look into the details of the scores, you can see that the lower score of this laptop mainly came from the slower memory, because this laptop only has one 8 GB memory RAM stick attached to it, and the Dell XPS probably has 2 sticks of RAM attached to it, which means more memory capacity and higher speed. However, if you want to increase the memory capacity and speed of this laptop yourself, you could install another DDR4L RAM to the motherboard if you take it apart. However, for everyday tasks, the 8 GB DDR4 RAM should be enough for just about everything. Since this computer doesn't have a dedicated GPU, you wouldn't be playing a lot of games anyway. So 8 GB for browsing and like office work should be more than enough. So the high Geekbench score means that on this laptop, on this Asus laptop, CPU intensive tasks such as video editing, video encoding, image processing, and web browsing should be almost as fast as the 2017 Dell XPS 15 or the 15-inch MacBook Pro from 2017. Additionally, heat isn't an issue on this laptop. I ran a few Cinebench R15 tests continuously, and the maximum difference between the test scores when the laptop was cool and when the laptop heated up was less than 15%, which means that if you leave the laptop working continuously, you won't get a big performance drop, and it's at most 15% from when the laptop is completely cool. The second thing I want to talk about is the computer's display. The display is great. The screen is big, it's sharp, it's saturated in terms of colors, and it has very slim bezels. And the laptop has an IPS panel, which means that if you look at the screen from every angle, the colors will pretty much remain the same. I'm trying to show you right here, but I'm not sure if you can tell clearly. Here you can see the viewing angle. I also took a photo of the display outside when I was viewing it at noon, and the photos taken in the middle of May. You can still see that the text on the screen is mostly visible. However, the display panel isn't perfect. So the main thing I'm complaining about is the build quality. So you can see that the screen panel isn't very well supported. I can bend it kind of easily with my hands, so this is a soft piece of plastic. So just make sure you don't pick up the computer by the display itself. But otherwise, the screen is pretty good. And another thing, the webcam on the computer has a really poor image and video quality. The maximum resolution on it is 640 by 480. So usually the webcams on laptops are 720p, and this one is only 480p with a 4:3 aspect ratio, I think. And the webcams on MacBooks, they have a 16:9 aspect ratio at 720p. So don't expect a high video quality from the webcam on this computer. But it does have a LED indicator that tells you when the webcam is being used, so that's nice. In this footage here I recorded with the webcam, you can see that the image is soft and the resolution is low, but the sound quality is alright. And then the third thing is the audio quality of the laptop. Now, I'm not an expert at judging audio quality on laptops, but I'll tell you this. The speakers on this laptop, they're louder than most laptops I got before, they're louder than all of the laptops I got before, which were around $600, so about the same price range as this laptop. So the speakers are pretty loud and relatively clear up until the max volume. I did some frequency response test on this laptop on online tonegenerator.com. When I did the test, I set the system volume to 70 and the volume slider on the website to 50. So at 1 feet away from the computer, I can hear frequencies as low as 150 hertz produced by this laptop. And then the frequency goes up to 18.5 kilohertz on the laptop. As a comparison, on my headset, I can hear from 20 hertz all the way up to 20 kilohertz, which is the range of normal human hearing frequency. And my phone, the Nexus 6P, can produce frequencies as low as 200 hertz and up to 17.5 kilohertz. On this laptop, I'd say it's good because it's not a very high-end laptop and you still get loud and clear speakers. And then the next thing is the keyboard and the touchpad. The keyboard overall, I think, delivers a very average typing experience. The keystrokes are stiff, a little stiff to me personally, and the key travel is very shallow. Also, to me, the keyboard layout is unfamiliar, so it took some time to get used to. You can look at the keyboard layout in this photo yourself. The touchpad is good. It has a glossy surface and a fingerprint sensor on the top right corner of the touchpad, but it doesn't seem to be bothering me much. So it supports all the gestures built into Windows 10. You can scroll up and down and switch between applications on Windows 10. The touchpad isn't as good as one on a MacBook, but for a Windows laptop, it has all the right gestures and it's big enough for me to use. Next is the battery life. So the battery only holds 42 watt-hours of power of charge. Even though this is a 15-inch laptop, the battery isn't as good as on the 13-inch Dell XPS. But it's kind of a trade-off you get from having a slim display and slim body. It's about the lightest and thinnest laptop I've ever seen that has a 15-inch display. For me, personally, I get about 5 hours of battery life with browsing and watching a bit of YouTube online. But when I was using this laptop offline, watching videos, it gave me slightly above 6 hours of battery life. As a side note, The integrated GPU on this laptop has support for hardware acceleration for all the popular video formats. So just watching videos on this laptop doesn't use a lot of power. It also comes with an app that allows you to limit the maximum charge of the battery to either 60% or 80% when it's connected to a charger. It's useful because due to the nature of how lithium-ion batteries work, if you don't charge it to 100% all the time, it gives you a lot more charging cycles out of it. Because I'm using this laptop at home most of the time, I just limit the maximum charge of the battery to 80% to give it more charging cycles. Next, let's talk about the ports and connectivity on the laptop. On the left side, you'll see two full-sized USB 2.0 ports and a SD card reader. Unfortunately though, the SD card reader doesn't have a USB 3 speed. It gives me a maximum transfer speed of 40 megabytes per second when I used it with a high-speed SD card. And then on the right side, you can see a full-sized USB 3 port here. And there's a full-size HDMI port here. And I think it supports 4K at 60 Hz output. There's also a USB Type-C port right here, but it doesn't have Thunderbolt 3 support, so you'll only get a USB 3 speed out of it. And then there's a DC port right here. Now, I kind of wished it could charge by USB Type-C, but it turned out the DC charger was fine. There's a small block of charger that you can easily carry around. I also wished that the USB Type-C port had Thunderbolt 3 support, so you could use external GPUs on this laptop. The CPU is more than capable of running modern games, but without an external GPU, you couldn't play modern games on the laptop with a decent setting. Next is the build quality of the laptop. Overall, it feels okay. This issue of the display being bent easily when you move it like that, but then it doesn't cause any damage to the screen, and it's more of an annoyance rather than a problem. So the base of the laptop is made entirely out of plastic, but it feels firm, and if you hold it with both your hands, it's solid. It's also solid when it's sitting on your lap, but because the laptop is big and if you hold it with one corner like that, it doesn't feel very secure. So storage. Storage is a major flaw of the laptop. My model doesn't come with an SSD, and the 1TB 2.5-inch hard drive within it was really slow. With all the Windows updates going on when I first got my laptop, the system basically froze because it couldn't handle all the read and write requests to the hard drive. Later though, I replaced the hard drive with a Seagate hybrid hard drive, which is a mechanical hard drive with a few gigabytes of SSD cache. The one I got sells for about $60 on Amazon. But if you have enough budget, you should just get an SSD instead. It speeds up your system a lot. I made a hard drive replacement guide on my YouTube channel. If you want to replace the hard drive, you should check out my video. Also, the laptop's motherboard has an empty M2 SSD slot, which is for SSDs about this big, and it doesn't use the hard drive port, so you can essentially have both if you want to add an SSD. If you're using the M2 port, make sure you get a compatible SSD because it only holds SATA 3 SSDs, and if you get the wrong one, the other type is NVMe, it could not work with the system or break the motherboard. To sum up my review, if you are on a budget and you want to get a laptop that's fast enough for content creation, such as video editing and photo editing, and you don't plan to game on your laptop, then the Asus F510UA is your perfect choice. It's fast, it's reasonably priced, it has a nice and big display, but at the same time it's light and mobile. The laptop's fast CPU suffices for almost any task like video streaming and video encoding. And with the internal hard drive replaced with either an SSD or a hybrid hard drive, the laptop becomes an excellent all-around laptop. For under $500, you get a fast processor, a nice display packed in a thin and light body, and all the most up-to-date ports. I highly recommend it for people who need a fast system but don't need the extra graphics power to play games. Here's a list of pros and cons to sum it all up. Again, this is the first review video that I've ever done, so sorry if I look a little bit too serious. If you liked my video, please give it a thumbs up and tell me what you liked about it. And if you didn't like it, also leave a comment so I can improve. I'll do my best to respond to each comment you leave. Thanks for watching.